housekeeping we do at the start of these webinars, so I hope in a couple of minutes it's going to take me to do anything and just explain how we run the digital leaders. Where you will, or additional people will have had a chance to join. Today we're going to learn how John Lewis, Mothercare and other leading companies in the UK manage omni-channel contacts. A great presentation by Transversal, really comprehensive, lot to take in, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be given by Mark White. I will just do intros in a moment. The happening is, just to keep things civilized, we will mute you throughout today's webinar. Contact. We'll do the presentation first, which will be about half an hour and just over, and we will have a Q&A where we can ask questions to the team. The way to ask a question is to contact me in the chat box any time from now on and send me your question. And the presentation is over. I will then invite you to a question in strict rotation, and Laura, who's managing the webcast, will unmute you and do that. So, you know, straight away, if you have a burning question, even as you come onto the webinar, do send it to me, and there's question courtesy throughout the presentation. Shy, send it through. Obviously know who you are, because it told me that when you contact me. And then just leave the question, and I will invite you to ask it at the end. But as it says, webinar guideline 3, you hold all questions to the end. So, if Laura moves us forward to webinar presenters, today's presentation from Mark White. Mark White is Business Development Director at Transversal. You'll see some other colleagues' names here. So David Dinsdale is with us today, and they are going to participate in the Q&A as they have wider knowledge across a broader range of topics than Mark. But Mark is going to make today's presentation, so I'm going to mute myself now and hand over to Mark for the presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining the presentation. Now, any delay at the beginning of this, or if you see any delay slides moving on, it's just while the technology catches up. I'm doing the presentation today. It's entitled Omni-channel with John Lewis and Mothercare. But as I said, we're going to talk about a few other companies in that process as well. So it's just going to be limited to those organizations. Okay, just caught up now. So just to let you know, first of all, who Transversal is, for those of you who don't, this is just one slide for you. We're an organization that's a spin-off from Cambridge University, and we develop contextual knowledge-based technology, and it's provided to our customers as a software as a service. And in simple terms, if you caught me an innovator, not that you would, but if you did, you'd ask me what we do. I'd say that we connected people to knowledge, and that is really the focal point of what we do. How a customer or a person inside of an organization wishes to find information, we provide the solutions that enable them to do that through all of their customer touch points, and that's just applicable in the world of omni-channel customer service. A variety of organizations, both large and small. Some of the organizations are up on the screen now, such as the BBC, M&S and John Lewis. I will mention all of that at some point during this presentation, and dipping into Barclays as well along the way. We'll probably fill the screen up with organizations of a similar ilk, all taking advantage of the knowledge-based solutions that we have. Knowledge is a very topical subject at the moment. There's a Gartner report that was issued in March 2014 talking about the value of contextual knowledge in organization, and through own research and work, making claims that it can actually reduce the amount of time for an individual to find what they want by between 20 and 80%. And if you take that within a contact center environment, for example, through the whole working day of an agent, that at as much as a 20% plus performance increase in that agent because they're able to find information much more easily for the customer. And on the flip side of that, contextual knowledge also means it's easier for the customer to self-serve, and there's great, therefore, advantages in able to take knowledge solutions that cut all customer touch points. And the companies who I would consider the digital leaders in this are deploying this type of approach in their organization. So, any further, I'd just like to define what I mean by contextual knowledge, and I mean by what we mean by contextual knowledge. There are lots of different definitions of this if you were to do a search on that phrase in Google. But it's quite simple from a customer's perspective. It means something like an understanding the meaning of the question. We've fought with technology in the past where you have to type in keywords and get keywords right to get anything sensible out of a solution. Even if you do get the keywords right, you'll be faced with a lot of returns of information which you have to sift through and decide which is relevant to you and which is not. So contextual knowledge is about allowing you to express yourself freely, understanding the meaning of that, and coming back with relevant information for you. Make it easier for you to find what you want and continue your journey. It's giving the right answer and also then suggesting a train of thought. If you up and speak to an advisor in a contact center, if that's an advisor, what they would do, they'd understand the meaning of the question, they'd give you the answer, and they also help you along a train of thought and suggest other things that you might find useful. They prove what you were trying to get at. And contextual knowledge does that too. And I'll be showing some examples of that as we go through. It's about giving consistency across all customer touch points. There's nothing worse for a customer to contact an organization through one channel and to decide at a later date to contact through a different channel, but find that the answers are different depending how they've approached that organization. So we need to glue that together to make sure that there's a consistency. And just having information there across all channels in itself is not enough. What you need to be able to do is analyze how that's being used so that you can take that information, that feedback that you're getting, and improve the knowledge for the benefit of all customers, which a customer touch point they go through. And important too. The whole emphasis around this is to make it easier for the customer to transact their business with you and give them something that's intuitive, which will be attracted to go back to use, so that the benefits stick and they build over time. So, what do I mean by understanding the meaning of the question? These are all screen captures to make it able to deliver the message at this time. But this is a screen capture of John Lewis's website in a particular area of their website in the customer services part. Here you'll find our technology embedded within that page. And if you just imagine, I am just typing a question in here. Where is my Cambridge? And I was about to type in store. I didn't have to get that far. And what this has done, it's interrogated the knowledge within the Knowledgebase and come back with the best contextual answers it can find. So it is anticipating that what you want to know is, how do I get to my local shop? Because clearly, I haven't spent time entering content about where your nearest store to Cambridge is and where your nearest store to Oxford is, for example. They've just got one knowledge entry, which is about your local shop. And our technology here has found that contextual match and brought that to the top of the pile. You may think this is very similar to Google in the way in which that operates, where you type in a question and it tries to anticipate what you want based on what other people have typed in previously. The difference here is actually looking at the knowledge base and through a network map deciding what is contextual in this small data set to my requirements. So what it's bringing back are no answers. So if you were to click on one, you'd get the immediate answer to that question. And it cuts down the number of keystrokes, the amount of effort that a customer needs to put in order to get to where they want to go. There are other aspects about this screen which I'll not go into now, enough to say that as you browse around content, it will show you what's trending in different category areas based on customer usage. So again, if you decide as a customer you wish to browse your way to information. It's going to help you with that too, showing you what's most popular at this time. Now, John Lewis, like a number of other customers we have, don't just use this on the website. They're looking inwards as well and using this type of contextual context technology in other parts of the organization, such as the contact center. With take a journey with another customer that we've firmly completed a project with, and it's called customer touch points. So the web, the contact center, through to mail, also using contextual knowledge in other assisted channels such as social media and email. And this is a journey with an organization who we've had a relationship with, which is M&S. So let me take you on that journey with them. If you go onto the M&S website and go into the help areas on their screen, again you'll end an area which is not too dissimilar to what I showed you previously with John Lewis, where you can type in questions, find information quickly. And what you find in this environment is that sometimes the answer to the question means we have to ask you another question. So somebody typed in a familiar question, where is my order? Of course, the answer to that really does depend on a number of factors. You know, what is it that you're ordering? And so M&S have food to order, they have wine clubs, furniture, made-to-measure shirts, personalized cards. So the answer to the question is you need to tell us more information. It's a decision tree, effectively. And as the customer selects which is the right option for him, then they can arrive at the right answer. If you talk to some other customers of ours as well, you'll see lots of different types of answers in here, making use of graphics, making use of video. In this instance, the customer is given a fairly straightforward answer, and also to rate the question and give some feedback if they found that answer useful. If they found it useful, that's great, and if they didn't, we're inviting the customer to give some descriptive feedback at that particular point. The key thing about the omni-channel and about using digital smartly is that you have to get this feedback. And then you have to have the processes within the organization to make use of that feedback. So there will be people, and there are people at M&S who look at this feedback and they use the back-end tools to analyze how the system is being used, what content is working for the customer, what content isn't working for the customer, and continually making improvements. And that continually, therefore, drives performance increases within the business. Now, enter content into a solution to drive the web is one thing, but it all makes sense that that content, that customer-facing content, is available. The customer uses Google or some other search engine in order to try to find an answer to a question. And this is much more prevalent today than ever, particularly with the use of tablets and mobile devices. People are time-rich. Some browse to your website when they want to find an answer to a question which you, as a customer, actually would like to answer for them. As an example, some typing in "where can I find recipes" into Google will find actually on the very first page of hits coming back, Ask Marks and Spencer's there. Because have an entry in their database which tells you where you can find recipes from Marks and Spencer's. And this is content which initially designed for a website, not being found automatically by Google. If you then click, therefore, on that entry, you go directly into the brand M&S Knowledgebase, where they can guide you from there where they would like to take you. That's an example for MS. There's lots of examples. Just one more I'd like you to see is typing in something like, what is an IBAN number? If you were to type that in, then you'd find that in Google, Barclays Bank comes top of the tree. And if you click on that particular entry, you'll go straight into the Barclays Bank knowledge base, and they'll tell you about that. Interesting fact from Barclays here, over 30% of all the questions that they answer in their knowledge base originate from people typing those questions into Google, not originating from people who are on their website. It drives significant extra traffic and hence business to Barclays. So we're beginning to see knowledge not as just something that helps you answer a question on a website. We're beginning to see it as something which is attracting people in Google to your brand. And realizing that people do want to ask questions, not when they're on your website. And this applies to whether you're a commercial company or local government. People sometimes just go to Google. It's the place to go. So it makes sense that your knowledge is accessible from Google. Getting back to M&S on this journey, we looked at them using this solution on their website. Now let's look at how they use this type of contextual knowledge within their contact center. Now M&S have got 4 contact centers, some outsourced and some that they own, spread in the UK and also in India. And their agents are able to get a view of the world that is relevant to they sit in the world, what their location, and the types of contacts that they take on behalf of M&S. What they have is a structure which is similar to this. They have an area of the screen where they have recent communications. It enables people in people who enter the content in one location at M&S to be able to use this technology to communicate to all agents wherever they may be. You also can see the most popular articles that are prevalent within the contact center, and in particular within their contact center. Those articles are not just answers to questions, they can be documents, they can be all types of different content that the agent is finding useful at this moment in time across the board. We also have a taxonomy, and that taxonomy is designed around the business of M&S to make it easy for them to dip in and find knowledge around each of those topic areas that again is prevalent at the moment within M&S, so that they can quickly browse to the right content to answer customer questions quickly. In addition to that, the tools that M&S can use to promote things to the agents should they wish them to take a particular course of action. And this is all dynamic and context to what the agent is looking at. We have most popular links. Of course, maybe things in this instance that M&S need to go off to parcel tracking services such as Parcel Force, etc. Having those areas of the screen for the agent to just click on those regular links and go directly to those services is of benefit. And they have a search box. Just as we showed with John Lewis and on the M&S website, it's a contextual search box, so that when an agent types something in, it doesn't require the agent to know exactly what they're looking for. It interprets what they're looking for. Within the solution, it has a built-in understanding of the English languages and all the alias words, and it learns from how it's used. So it does free up the agent as it frees up the external customer to be able to free type and they're guided by the system's understanding of the meaning, what they wanted. And they have a suggestion box. Because as days go by, agents are taking calls to begin to understand that they're getting lots of calls that really ought to have been dealt with the website, but the website might be lacking in the right content to have stopped that call coming through in the first place. And so M&S, such as John Lewis and Mothercare, I'll come back to in a moment, they all use this capability for the agent to take some ownership in the aim of the organization to minimize the unnecessary contacts. And they can use that suggestion box to suggest the types of questions that they're dealing with at the moment, the answers that ought to be given on the website. They can put information such as volunteer, their name and the department they work for, etc. And they enter that information. That's into a workflow. And it ends up in the queue of the person responsible for the website content, where they can guard that, they can view it, they can make changes to it, and if they think it's worth publishing, they can go through the approval process and publish it, complete the loop of that going back to be customer-facing content now to help resolve those questions automatically next time. Mobile there is to signify that any information that is available on the website technology is automatically rendered available to them to mobile devices in the sense that it restructures and resizes itself to be applicable for the size of the screen that the customer is going through. So it's multiple touch gain for the customer. Completed the loop there of involving the contact center in the business of trying to minimize the number of contacts that they actually receive. Do much of the same thing. The contact center solution goes further because it's to incentivize the agents too. And it's to praise the agents and include areas of content in here that are customer feedback areas. So if the customer has written a letter in praise of how they've been dealt with, that's a really positive thing for the agents to feel. It's a hard job sitting on the phone all day, and so they use this to reward and enthuse the agents that they are doing a good job. And lots of the areas such as tips of the week and agent all-stars appear in these areas on the screen, as well as all the highly functional requirements we saw there with Marks and Spencer's, such as being able to contextually type in a question and find what they want. And view not just questions being asked in the contact center, but the top questions that customers are asking when they go onto the website, which can be different. Once you have knowledge and invested in this knowledge source, it doesn't just feed the website or the contact center or the mobile or Google. It can also feed into other applications that you have in the organization. So the CRM system that your agents might spend a lot of time within, that system may sometimes not contain all of the help that you would like it to. You can integrate that from the central source into other applications too. Just one example of an SAP Interaction Center application, Knowledge in the red boxes there, which has been dynamically fed in from the central knowledge base. It's the idea of propagating this knowledge. It's knowledge as an independent application from anything else that you do, would then be used to populate out and to be ubiquitous in terms of how it's used around the organization. Barclays Card's another example. So if you go to the Barclays Card website, you'll see that they've built in contextual knowledge into their web pages. And they have a central knowledge base, and of course on their website you can ask a question in the same way as we've shown with John Lewis and M&S, but they've gone a step further and built it into a page so it's there, ready waiting for you, anticipating what you might want to know on this page. That's going to take a lot of necessary queries out of the Barclays Card Contact Center. Going further than that, they have developed their own applications, paying bills automatically. So these are apps on your iPhone or whatever, or Android. And the information with Knowledgebase is fed directly into those apps. It's a dynamic feed. It doesn't actually exist in the app. It's fed in from the central knowledge base. So you could type in using our predictive technology, and it will automatically search that knowledge base and come back with particular options that are contextually matched. How can I pay my bill? How much can I pay my bill? If I continue typing and I say pay with app, then it's refining further automatically on the fly. And of course, how do I pay a Barclays Card bill using my Barclays Card app is best matched to that. This is making it very easy for people to access information via mobile with typing the minimal amount of characters. When using this technology, this knowledge-based technology to feed all channels, it's important then to have the tools in the back end of the solution to be able to analyze how this is used. People use the technology in different ways according to the channel that they're going in through. And therefore, we provide the mechanisms for you to analyze how the questions what questions are being asked through which channel, spot the trends, spot the unique needs of the customers through channels, identifying new knowledge needs that you need to fill the gaps for, and to respond quickly to change. So to be able to publish this information without needing to bring your IT department into the decision-making or the execution of the changes. The main for all of it really is to encourage channel shift, and we'll talk a little bit in a moment about the types of results organizations are getting by using this. To recap, we're about organized knowledge for organizations that feed all of these channels. We've talked about the web, we've talked about contact center and through to mobile, whether that be a responsive design, access to that knowledge, or whether it be via an integrated app that you might develop. We haven't really touched on email or social or chat, but you will find if you were to sit, for example, within M&S Contact Center, you'll see humans responsible for the social media, and using the knowledge base is a great source of support and consistency in their responses through their social media channels. So you see them conversing with people, dipping into the knowledge base, pulling information out automatically, putting that into the social media chat and into the web chat for other organizations as well. So the knowledge is serving all these areas. I see it in the email. And in fact, quite often, all of the email template responses you can think of as just items of knowledge that you might want to find quickly and then push out as an email. So the knowledge base, all of these multitude of different customer contact areas supporting the agents and the external customer at the same time. There's one source of information that you need to contain. So it's got all this together. And to finish off, just not on time. Our potential of getting this right is quite significant. I mentioned at the beginning about Gartner doing their analysis. If you get this right, you can improve the performance of an agent between 20 and 80% on a call. Across all of their working day, take out 20% of their time. And that's just on the contact center side. Imagine what happens when you're deploying this integrated in an integrated fashion also onto the website through the mobile. Well, these are the sorts of results that you can look to get. So we can analyze now that 90% of the questions that have been asked on the website are being answered to customers' satisfaction automatically on their website, and that's made a big impact there. We go further with Barclays. We do contextual advertisements as well. If you recall, with the NS contact center screen, I showed you an area of the screen where there were sort of like graphical advertisements coming up to promote certain things that the agent needs to take into account that can be used externally, promote to customers too. So it's in context with what the customer is asking. And Barclays use that to promote their mortgages and the various tools they have to help you convert. And they see a 13% click-through rate because it's all contextual. It's all contextual knowledge effectively. And that's a lot of additional revenue for them. The BA is another organization that makes use of this technology within their contact center and also directly on their website, .co.uk and the iPlayer. And there's a massive reduction in queries coming through. They now can measure that 99% people are finding the right answers through the analysis of what they're asking, the content they're looking at, and the positive feedback they get. And that's resulted in a big reduction in call handling times when used by agents too in the contact center. Coming back to one of the companies we said we were talking about, more Mothercare. They deploy it not just on their website and their contact center, but also in stores. They encourage people in the stores. It's another customer touch point. They encourage their staff in the stores to use this technology rather than call into the center. And what they're seeing is a 30% reduction in contact center calls and from the external customers, and a 40% reduction in calls coming to them from their stores as well per week. Looking at the impact in the contact center particularly, it used to take them 3 weeks to train an agent across all of the different product areas they needed to train prior to installing the knowledge base. One of the big benefits of implementing the knowledge base is that it raises the bar for every agent. It means your best agents is captured for all to benefit from. That means that you can reduce the training time because no longer do you need to tell them exactly about everything up front. You just need to tell them how they can interface and find it for themselves intuitively. And much more productive agents more quickly. So that's half an hour up. I hope that's given you insight into the value of contextual knowledge and how to apply it across all your customer touch points and the sort of business performance that you're going to get as a result of doing that. And if anybody would like to ask any questions to Robin, I'd be very pleased to, as will my colleagues. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. That was, well, that wins the award for timing of the presentation, definitely. Well done. You've left us with just under half an hour for questions. Thanks, everybody, for starting to send them through. I'll ask Ben Carpenter first. Ben, just after some clarification on reduced trading time for age. So, do you want to...
Oh, yeah, pretty boring question, sorry, but I was looking at the stat on the last page there of time reduced from 3 weeks to 8 days. 2 weeks as in 15 working days to 8 working days?
Yes, the 3 weeks would have been the 15 working days. Yeah, so it's roughly a 50% reduction of active physical training time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thanks. Thanks. No, I just wanted to get that clarification because I knew we wouldn't get back to it if we into the questions. So our first question is from Vadim Adams. Over to you.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, I tried to mute, but I can't.
Okay, apparently we're having trouble unmuting Vadim. So, apologies, we'll come back to you. We will go to Bob Gann. Bob.
If you can hear me, can you?
We can.
Can hear?
Great.
Yes,
okay.
we can hear.
So, fascinating presentation.
Thank you.
What I'm particularly interested in actually is the ability of the control knowledge technology and approach to non-retail settings. I work in the National Health Service. I see in-channel shift for NHS. So very interested in this whole area. Now, in retail environment, the questions people ask and the responses they get are pretty low risk. You know, if they get a big answer served up, it might be inconvenient, it might be irritating, but it's not going to significantly impact on their lives. And we've considered the appropriateness of using some kind of contextual knowledge for health inquiries previously. And I guess we had some concerns about risk management. So I think my question is two parts, really. Firstly, how appropriate you think the technology is to incorporate people may have that are about, you know, life events, health, significant issues in their life, not buying my wine from Waitrose. And secondly, whether the quality of the knowledge base is the most successful, or the quality of the algorithms or the engine that drives it, because I think that's really relevant to us as well. So two kind of linked questions there.
Yeah, of course. Yes, and good questions, particularly. And of course, you're right to make the, to highlight the difference between what one might be life changing and one necessarily in retail. I think the answer to the query really is the content you put in. You're doing two things when you put content into the knowledge base. You're putting in the question that you'd like to answer effectively, and thinking here in terms of the type of FAQ type of content, and not thinking of PDFs and things. But you're putting in the question, and you're putting in the answer to the question. So you're answering your own question when you're entering that knowledge, in the hope that that's going to be of value to somebody. Now, so as you seed this knowledge in initially, don't know, of course, is how useful that's going to be, but you will find that out through the analysis of people who ask questions in their own way. And then the value of the algorithm, as you say, is that it finds the best contextual match to the question that somebody has asked. If they decide that contextual match is relevant to them, it's a good match, they select that item of content, and they will read what you had entered, and they will read the fact that read the question that you entered and answer to the question that you entered. So in that sense, you're trying to answer directly what they've said. You're interpreting and phrasing it to your own question and then answering that. It means that you're never in the situation where you're giving bad advice to a particular random question. You're always actually answering your own question effectively. Yeah. So whether any use to the customer is the matter, and that's why you have the feedback options. So the feedback options is then saying to the customer, did this answer your question? Are you happy? Yes or no? If the answer to that is no, you have options. And the options which your business should decide on what you would like them to do. What options could be, please escalate that to us via a telephone call, for example, if it's a very private matter. You might not want them to type on an email. So you could guide them along the right escalation path that you would like them to take. Actually, within the M&S example as well, the ability to be able to ask another question based on the answer that you've given. In the S, it was a very simple example of, where's my order? Well, what is it that you're ordering? So I need to ask you another question. And of course, that's a decision tree type of approach, which you could also use within the health service to drill down and clarify a few points. But I think that the key point I would like to make here is that we're never just throwing an answer out in response to a question. It's all about finding what information you put in that is the best match, which you've already validated inside of the business, and you've gone through an approval process to say, yes, stand by this information in the way it answers the question that we've put in. So you're protected in that environment.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Question, Bob. So our next questioner is Angela Moore. Angela, over to you.
Hello. I was wondering if you had any examples of the use of the approach and the return on investment that might deliver in local government context.
In a government context, I mean, we are implementing this across a number of councils. It's often quite hard to get back statistics at this stage in those types of areas. I think what we've seen, it just sidestep the question a little bit, because I can't give you statistics right now on local government. But what we've seen in the commercial sector is a fairly average 20%, a normal 20% reduction in contacts coming through, or in savings, however that's measured. And some of them are much larger than that, such as the BBC and Mothercare, and some of them might not be so much. It depends on the organisation. Now, there's no reason why that really can't be replicated within a local government sector. The issue is how you're going to measure the before and after, and that's often down to the organisation. Are they actually measuring that clearly? So I can't give you stats from any of our customers in that area, unfortunately, at this point, unless my colleagues is able to enlighten me on the line.
It's Pablo Castillo from Transversal here. Yeah, as Mark mentioned, we work with various local government customers. With one customer in particular, Barnet Council, we're driving a major channel shift there at the moment. So we're actually integrating into 3 different touch points. The first touch point will be customer citizen facing, and this is very much touching upon what you said earlier, Mark, having one question and multiple answers for the decision trees to be identify the customer and give the right answer, and using correct escalation points at the right time. So if a question is viewed as high value, then we can escalate via chat or callback or very other methods. Also, we'll be sitting within the contact centre to further empower and enrich the agents to give them the in-line information while chatting to the citizens. Lastly, we'll be sitting within the enterprise, allowing employees to self-serve themselves. So this deployment is currently going live, and hopefully we'll be able to get some really rich matrix from Barnet, and we'll be able to kind of hopefully publish them on our website very, very soon. But at the moment, unfortunately, we don't have any firm statistics, but these should be coming quite soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question, and I will give you statistics now. I think it's fair to say that the uptake of this primarily being initially in the commercial sector. Our colleague Pablo Castillo, who was talking then, who works very much within the local authority sector. Barnet is just one of a number of councils that are actively implementing or looking at implementing this technology now, but it's just a little bit too early for us to give you the statistics, I'm afraid.
Thanks.
Okay.
Of an optimum size, I mean, we have some dealings with companies that do other things on the internet or knowledge and databases and what have you. And when delving in detail with them, there's kind of like, there are sizes of knowledge bases for which this is sort of optimum and others like that. So there's a sort of a Swiss is a product I'm sure you're familiar with where when you buy around it, sort of hundreds of thousands of web pages to kind of make the thing optimal. So I mean, it sounds like local government tap into it because it sounds like they have the sort of size of knowledge base sheet. But can you give an idea around that?
I like to use that well-known phrase, size doesn't matter, really, in this example. But it's true, because with organizations, some of which have a knowledge base of no more than maybe 100 or 200 entries to pair, and others which have got thousands, many thousands. And so it's operating across a very big range, not just in the UK, but internationally, and not just customer-facing. In terms of external customer-facing, sometimes it's internal-facing to employees as well. So just to let you know, this technology is very much being used to answer HR queries across the employee base. And then they can run into hundreds, if not many thousands, of knowledge entities too. So the key thing to know about this really is that the knowledge base grows in line with what customers, whoever those customers are, want to know. And from the very first day it's implemented, it's at best a stab at what you think your customers want to know. And what we'll find within the space of probably the first 4 or 5 weeks is that you will end up with another 10-20% more extra knowledge in it than you initially envisaged, because you will have seen the questions coming through which will surprise you that people actually want to know that. I'm not just talking about the odd one question. I'm talking about a trend of questions which you had not anticipated. If I say to you that Mothercare's one of their most popular questions is, when is the best time to conceive? And they never envisaged that ever would be a popular question. And they saw that within the first few weeks. I'm saying it actually dominated, but it was enough questions for them to put in some content to answer it. And the interesting thing was, as soon as they put the content in Knowledgebase, as soon as they understood what customers wanted to know, that people were actually going to the brand before they'd had children, as it was a trusted brand, that particular piece of content went right to the top of the most frequently asked questions and has never left. And the reason for that, because people were typing that similar question to that into Google, and as soon as they were typing into Google, they were seeing Mothercare's answer coming up on that first page, and they were clicking into it and going to the Mothercare site. So, and that of course meant it became a very popular question for Mothercare and drove their view very much of what type of content they ought to put in the knowledge base, not just about products. It's about advice and things that people just want to know about the subject matter. So we're constantly surprised. We sometimes are working with companies, very small knowledge bases that then become big ones as they begin to realize, like Mothercare, they should build this content out much more, that they can analyze it. To, I don't know, other organizations like Standard Life, who out thousands and thousands of pieces of content to support their independent financial advisors with rather intricate financial knowledge about about all sorts of attacks and all sorts of products that they are selling. And these are people using this technology who are experts themselves, looking for even more detail. So I can't really say there's a limit or a good size for it. We've seen it being applied across the board for all sizes.
Into that, Mark, is a lot of our customers also use it very much as a signposting tool where the rich content actually lives upon the website. So it's used as a navigational tool. Because what we found, a lot of customers don't want to have to replicate the same information within the knowledge base. So as I say, the customer or internal externally would ask their question and get a quick answer and then signpost where the actual information lives.
Question is Kate Borcherel. Over to you, Kate.
Hi, Kate.
Hi, Robin. Thanks, Robin, and hello, Mark. I'm wondering how the traditional knowledge-based model, so an organisation is generating answers based on calls and feedback. How would you extend that to include knowledge exchanges in a forum on social media and so on with multiple independent contributors?
Yes, of course. And these two things can work side by side. Of course, what we're talking about here particularly is authorized knowledge, something that the company will stand behind and own, and therefore it has a publication control. That's not to say that the other side of knowledge that you're talking about isn't very useful. As we see, it definitely is, where the community sort of takes an ownership and helps each other out. And in those sorts of instances, well, we see organizations doing both, and they will look at that. And if the community are coming up with good answers, of course, that can be identified by the organization, and they can actually take that information and publish it through to their authorized knowledge base as well. So we see, for examples, even Ofcom do this. Ofcom, if you go, they have a Facebook page. I'm not sure many people will know that, but they actually do have a Facebook page. And you will see our knowledge base effectively, or their knowledge base, sitting in their Facebook page. So there's an interesting mix between the social side and authenticated knowledge.
Because the social side will give the implied questions rather than the explicit questions, I don't know.
Well, that's right. And coming back to the gentleman that was talking about health and so forth, you probably, you're going to push any answers forward, which can have a very much legal implication as well as a health implication. You're certainly going to want to authenticate that yourself. You're going to want to publicize it and go through the proper approval process. It's not to say you won't let people chat about things, but you're certainly not going to represent it as your own answers.
Thank you.
Okay.
Vadim Adams unmuted. I think reasons beyond my control. Anyway, so
I have a question. My dashboard. What sort of things do your clients need as prerequisites to implement such tools?
I have to read that question out, Mark. So you'd be far away.
Oh, sorry. Well, requisites. You need knowledge. That's really the only thing. I guess your answer is more in lines of technology. I guess in terms of the answer to that really is that you don't need to have any particular type of technology to take advantage of the knowledge base that we're talking about here, because we host that technology ourselves, and we provide an easy way of you to link to that content. So the implications for your IT are minimal. There's prerequisites from your perspective there. So in a typical implementation, for example, we would sit down with you and we would help to understand how your organization works and how your base needs to be structured to support the business that you have. But we wouldn't be coming to you and saying you need to have these types of operating systems, these types of PCs, this types of technology in place. You would bring to the party is simply understanding of your business and the content that you need to convey.
from David Fraser. Thank you, David.
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you, Mark, for a very clear presentation. Very good.
Thank you.
And to mean how you can integrate knowledge into other solutions, like, for example, into CRM, you expose those knowledge items in that system. I'm keen to understand whether that integration can work in the other direction, so you can personalize dynamic knowledge. So what we've seen from me so far has been mostly static knowledge, which is that dynamic knowledge to the viewer based on the known context of that person. When I type in, for example, where's my order, give them a link to their order list or ask them for an order number, or based on context of what you already know about that customer. So on your example, that credit card, if they're logged in, like on a Barclays example, you already know that they've got two types of credit cards, so it shapes the questions and answers based on that person's knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good question. Well, thanks for taking me into an area of complexity I was going to avoid for the half an hour, but that's fine because and we operate on the secure side of a number of websites, such as Direct Line Insurance. When you're logged in onto their website, you will have our technology there, and a number of other companies. To answer the different sort of levels of question there, all wrapped into one that you've said. But deepest level first, I think. If someone's already logged on to your site, and therefore you know who they are in one of your applications, you can pass into our application variables that identify what type of individual this is. That's not that you pass us all of his personal information with all of the security implications that means. Wouldn't advise that. But you might be able to pass us parameters which tell us what type of person this is and how, therefore, you would like to respond to them. Those parameters we can use to filter the right type of content and message to that individual. And if you're using the contextual advertisements as well to help promote certain things, we select the right ones based on the life stage of that person with your organization. We do this actually in HR. We have examples there, for example, where an international company is using our technology across various countries. And of course, as soon as you do that, you're into different terms and conditions for different employees. You're into different terms and conditions for different locations, even within a country sometimes. And an example, SAP holds all of the employee data, and when people log onto the intranet, SAP throws to us 4 variables. We sort of know what language the person wants to speak, what terms and conditions apply, and we can therefore, and what role that person has in the organization, and we can deliver the right answer in context to that individual. Now, to the commerce side of that, the e-commerce side of that, exactly the same thing. It's really just down to your imagination of how far you want to personalize that engagement.
For that, I guess the sort of item there was presumably that can also include things like geolocation data from mobile. If you're on your mobile app, so that you do a local store search, it already knows where you are.
Yes, and we've got great examples of that. Actually, within the contact center as well, where you can sort of pinpoint where it is actually whilst they're asking you the question via mobile. And then if you really wanted to, give directions of how to walk there. Yeah, we're tying into that. We do that particularly with Barclays. If you've got Google to hand now, you could type in, where's my nearest bank? You'll probably find that Barclays come up at the top of that. And if you delve into all of that, you'll probably find some sort of mapping with an answer to that too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Final words from our presenters, Mark and Pablo. Any final comments, and then we will wrap things up.
Well, first of all, thank you all for the questions. that you've given. And I'm very pleased that so many have stayed on the line and that you found it worthwhile to do so, giving your time up for that. We would actually be delighted to talk to anybody who wants to understand how we could work. Our organisation is not a high-pressure sales organisation, so we're just happy to sit down and have a chat and take it for no further than that, if that's what you'd wish. So please engage if you wish.
Well, thank everybody who's attended. I think Mark speaks for all of us here at Transversal, and we'll be happy to answer any further questions on any issues that you'd like to talk about. Again, for attending today.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jess. I thought it was a cracking presentation, really, really comprehensive, and thank you everyone for the detailed questions. Apologies I didn't get to yours. So thank you for joining us. As it's on our final slide, now connect involved in the webinar. So contact with each other, and you can obviously send each other links and information. Also, recorded today's question and the Q&A afterwards. That will be both posted to the Digital Leads website, and we also send it to all of you, and then you can forward it on to anybody you know who wanted to be on the webinar today, or who may well be interested. Now you know more about the topic in your own organisations. On that basis, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Pablo, for a fantastic present. Thank you, everyone who has attended, and look forward to seeing you for the webinar.